One of the main things that I definitely want to see on the new Ramen Toy third-party style Thunderhawk is a more improved transformation mechanism for the doors to pop open in flight mode smoothly every time you press the button on the roof. Now, with the original, the springs on the door would constantly get loose over time and sometimes would just droop down, have one wing pop up while the other stays down, or just fail to open altogether. And while there is a way that you can fix this with maybe a small plier, you shouldn't have to. The toy should be able to get its wings popping smoothly every single time. Okay then, you got this, Thunderhawk. You got this. Come on then, come on. Shit. Hey guys, Ken here from the Retro Toy Escapades channel in Malaysia. Ramen Toy has been sharing a ton of updates on their new incoming M.A.S.K Red Gull Wing project over the last few weeks. The inspiration for this, of course, being the 1985 M.A.S.K Thunderhawk transforming Camaro from Kenner Toys. M.A.S.K is definitely one of my all-time favorite 80s toy lines, so I have been following this project very closely. So far, we've been treated to prototype updates on their Facebook page that show us how the vehicle design will look like in its standard Camaro mode. This time around, it definitely looks a lot more curvier, a lot more longer, and we've also seen images of the toy in its fully transformed flying jet mode, which definitely captures the iconic look of the 80s original. The provided specs do suggest that the vehicle will be larger than the original, coming in at about 8.7 inches in length and 3.7 inches in width. There also appears to be some unique design updates, such as these raised curved edges that you now see on the rear of the vehicle. And we can also pretty much notice that the racing seats no longer appear to have the separate rubber seat belts like with the original. Now, of course, we've not seen the completed version of the vehicle to date, and there are a lot of details that are still to come for sure. But here are some of the things that I'd like to see with Ramen Toy's new improved version of the Thunderhawk, aside from getting its wings popping smoothly, which I covered right at the start of the video. Starting with the wing cannons that are attached to the doors. Now, with the original, this was always an issue. The wing cannons would constantly fall down after a period of time. Now you see this here, this is a common sight with most of the old Thunderhawk units that are on display. That's because the cannons were made of heavier die-cast metal and they were being fit into very flimsy plastic doors. And there wasn't really anything to hold them or keep them in place. You just have to hope that they will go up into their slot and stay there. And in most cases, they ended up deciding not to. Okay. Now this unit here is pretty okay. The cannons more or less stay in place. But after a period of time, I have noticed that they will fall down regardless. Now, I would say that this was just poor engineering with the original toy and a source of frustration for most Thunderhawk owners out there. And next up, we've got the rear bumper area. Now, in a proper transformation, the rear bumper is supposed to go up and reveal the thrusters, okay, in jet mode. And then when you close it down for its normal Camaro mode, it's supposed to cover the thrusters entirely, just like what you see here. However, there have been a lot of units that for whatever reasons, the bumper does not actually in fact cover the entirety of the thrusters. The thrusters can still pretty much be seen quite clearly. And trust me when I tell you that I've handled a lot of old Thunderhawk units over the last 10 years or so, probably about, close to about 20, at various times. And I've seen this personally, that a lot of the older units seem to have this issue. And it's one of those things that I trust the new M.A.S.K Red Gull Wing will not be faced with. Then we have the actual car itself, the actual appearance of the Thunderhawk. And the classic was basically one that owed its general appearance to the use of stickers. Multitudes of stickers, like all over the vehicle, in the front, on the roof, on the back, and on both sides of the doors. And these stickers would actually be very easily peeled off. The stickers were of actually very poor quality. And I know that since then, over the years, there have been a lot of companies, starting with Sticker Fixer, like around 2010 onwards, they were already producing high quality replica of the M.A.S.K stickers. But I do believe that stickers probably are not the best way to go for a vehicle that relies entirely on its use. It's like without the stickers, this car would just look naked, like a red rolling block. Okay, so I kind of hope that with the new M.A.S.K vehicle that we're getting, it's going to be printed on details. Like all these details you see here will just be printed onto the vehicle. Is this car door possessed? Why is it like just popping up like that? Do you see that? Yeah, so personally, I do hope that we won't be seeing the use of stickers on the upcoming Red Gull Wing, but I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Now, in one of the interesting updates that Ramen Toy shared on their Facebook page is that on the underside of the Thunderhawk, the Red Gull Wing, the Red Gull Wing, the bomb bays are now closed. All right. So with the original, the bombs were actually exposed on the underside. They were just open, and you just press on the thrusters to eject them out or to drop them. And this time around, the bays are closed and the bombs are actually sealed inside. But apparently how it works now is that the bombs are being held in place by magnets, and when you get the slots open, the magnets will be dispositioned and the bombs will automatically drop. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty different. It's something that we've not really seen before. Magnets and all this, kind of reminds me of Starcom. Okay, and I do believe that Raman is probably also looking into doing Starcom at some point. So anyway, the use of magnets with the bombs for the Thunderhawk, the Red Gull Wing. Sorry, the Red Gull Wing. Why do I keep saying that? Is it's interesting. And I do want to see more of this thing actually being executed. Now, also receiving an upgrade this time around is the action figure that comes paired with the vehicle. Now, with the original M.A.S.K series, the vehicles were obviously the stars of the toy line. The vehicles had the cool transformation gimmicks, the awesome hidden weapon functions. These were the things that actually wowed us as kids. But the action figures that came paired with the vehicles and their respective helmets were some of the most amazingly detailed figures ever for their size and scale. One of the older videos on the channel is the top 5 M.A.S.K toys of all time. That video, in fact, is one of the best performing videos ever on this channel. And to support that, I've also produced an older video titled the top 5 M.A.S.K action figures of all time, where I actually talk in detail on the best action figures that M.A.S.K ever produced. And in fact, the original Matt Tracker figure, who is the driver of the Thunderhawk and also the leader of the M.A.S.K team, is on that list. For Makina's Red Gull Wing, the character of Matt Tracker has now been reinvented as Mads Hawking. I assume that he's still the team leader of Makina, I guess. But compared to the original figure, this one's a little bit bigger. It comes in at about 3 inches in height and offers an insane amount of articulation for its size. The original Matt Tracker figure had something like about 7 points of articulation. It had knee articulation, which was amazing for a figure that small. It didn't have waist articulation, but this figure appears to have solved that and added like way more articulation. It's 14 points of articulation in total, as we are promised. There appears to be a lot that you can do with this figure. Also comes with a reformatted Spectrum mask. I don't think it's still being called Spectrum, though I'm not sure if the mask is given a name in this new incarnation, but it's great to see that we are getting an upgraded version of the classic Matt Tracker figure to go along with this new vehicle. Now, the incoming release of this Red Gull Wing vehicle has drawn a lot of attention and interest from M.A.S.K fans all over the world, judging by the online communication, especially on the Ramen Toy website and Facebook page. But as I've often said before, online interest does not necessarily translate into actual physical sales. We've seen that before as well, and I think that Ramen has seen it as well also with the recent cancellation of their Apache Commander figure, which was actually supposed to be a reinvented John Thunder figure from the Centurions line or 80s Commanders. And that seems like kind of a regret. I think personally, even for me, I would have liked to have seen that figure actually being made, because it was actually being done in the classic Kenner scale and not their reinvented 80s Commander scale. It was actually being done in the classic scale. They had to cancel that because it could not meet the required production count of 800 units. So, even 800 units was not a possibility, all right? They could not achieve 800 buyers out there to actually purchase the item. However, judging from what I've seen online, a lot of people appear to be very interested in jumping onto this thing instead, all right, into the Red Gull Wing. And I believe that the Red Gull Wing probably will be a success. M.A.S.K is actually, while still largely a cult phenomenon, but it does have a large fan base out there, especially in Asia, definitely among the crowd of 40-year-old adults right here in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, because I believe the majority of us as kids simply did not have access to these toys. And even though the Thunderhawk is in fact quite widely available out there, I mean, you can find Thunderhawk units online, on eBay and stuff like that, it is still quite difficult to find a complete operational unit that's probably in good condition, like I said, with all the stickers intact. The cost of these figures actually in the secondary market has been going up considerably over the last 10 years. If you got it on M.A.S.K sometime like at the early start of like 2010, I would say that you could probably still obtain these items. Back then, I think before stuff like Instagram and Facebook were really spreading out social media presence and, making photos of these things available, I think a lot of people just basically didn't really think about it that much. But these days, you snap on your phone and you look into something like Instagram, you go to a retro toy page, and you'll just be bombarded with images of all this stuff from your childhood, and that creates the desire and the demand. So this ramen toy Red Gull Wing offers collectors and fans of the property a chance to own an upgraded version of the Thunderhawk from their childhood and to obtain it in a new format, like brand new, and in what I can only assume will be some truly incredible packaging, all right, based on what we've seen before from their Centurions line and also their incoming Silverhawks figures, which I have not received yet. I mean, I did place a pre-order for that Quicksilver. I'm still waiting for it to arrive, but we've seen the photos of it online. Their packaging is just utterly breathtaking, and I can only assume that I'm not sure if the images that we're seeing here based on what's shared on their Facebook page is in fact the images that are going to be actually on the final box art, but what we're seeing so far is incredible. Now, do I have concerns as to the quality of the Red Gull Wing? Well, yeah, definitely I do, because I've not actually personally seen Ramen Toys work on an actual toy vehicle. I've seen their work with action figures. I've seen their work personally with the 80s Commanders. I purchased the last set that came out, the 80s Commanders second version, which was the recolored 80s style versions of those characters. And I did mention that those figures were a substantial improvement. I reviewed them, 2 of them in fact, on the channel, and they are a substantial improvement over what was initially offered in the first batch of 80s Commanders from last year. However, I did also point out a number of issues with the figures, and when it comes to toy vehicles, well, I'm just hoping that this thing is something that's very sturdy. I do wonder if it does contain die-cast parts, I'm not really sure about that at this point, but I will say that I'm confident that they should be able to offer something that's of a higher quality than the actual Thunderhawk toy from 1985, because that original toy vehicle, although nostalgic, great to look at, fantastic to own and display, but it was a pretty flimsy toy, and it's just not a really fun toy to play with, all right, with all the issues that I just mentioned to you. And it's just one of those things that, when you think about it, yeah, it's awesome, and you just keep thinking like the Thunderhawk is like the main star of the show, but the actual handling of the toy itself wasn't such a fun experience. It's one of those things that you really have to be very careful with. Like I said, the plastic is kind of brittle, and it just doesn't give you that feeling of assurance when you handle it. But I'm thinking that with the present day toy technology that we have on hand, these are all issues that can definitely be addressed. Okay, but how much is this set going to cost? Well, Ramen has actually in fact already announced the pricing for this. The standard retail price on this will be $170. However, they will be opening this up for an early bird pre-order offer of $117. I mean, that's like a huge price cap. Okay, so I kind of think that, if any part of you actually wants or feels like you need to own this thing, definitely get in on that early bird pre-order offer. That's kind of like what I did too with the Centurions figures, the 80s Commanders figures that came out before this. And I would say that, even at that early bird pricing, well, it did feel maybe a little bit steep, but, I'm happy that it wasn't the final standard retail price. Now, when it comes to this price, I have seen a lot of comments online as well. Some people have still commented that the early bird pricing on this is a little bit steep. But from where I'm standing, I mean, I'm looking at the situation here. Well, it's not a pricing that's unheard of in today's time, especially for a toy product of a franchise that's basically very dormant. Okay, it doesn't have a mainstream following out there. Okay, and the fan base may or may not support it. Okay, so I kind of think that for a franchise like this that has a very cult following still, and is being in fact produced by an independent toy company, they're not being backed by the majors and stuff like that, so they do have to look at probably more limited production numbers to get something like this out to fans. I would say that the pricing, especially the early bird pricing, is well, it's not unheard of, like I said. Okay, I wouldn't say it's entirely fair or that is too high, but it's okay, all right. It's within the range of something that they would reasonably be able to do, I would think. If not, they'd practically just be running this whole thing at a loss, and we probably would not see any more product coming in from M.A.S.K. Now, the pre-order for this is expected to go out sometime this month in August per their update, and I'll be looking out for it. I definitely will be supporting this with a purchase. I definitely want to own this. I definitely want to get it in my hands and review it for damn sure. Okay, I've done a lot of M.A.S.K coverage on this channel over the years, and I actually do want to do an updated, full, complete, like an ultimate edition review of the classic Thunderhawk once again. I mean, there's been videos in the past where I've covered it, but I think that I kind of want to do like an ultimate edition, so probably look out for that as well. And let me know what you thought of this video. Catch you guys again real soon with more content. Take care out there. Okay, you got this, man. Come on, come on. Damn it.